Well, hello, folks, and welcome to We The Peeps. This is the American soccer podcast in which you are going to get to know everything that you need to know about the USMNT. The only thing in
If
soccer...
you can call this that, yes.
The only thing in soccer that you care about this weekend, the USMNT versus Haiti in the Gold Cup.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Clayton. I'm an artist.
I'm Ty. I'm an entrepreneur.
And we love the Nats. These Nats.
We do.
These are also
we
the
do.
Nats
We do.
Insert here. And insert. Folks, welcome to the game. Oh, I gotta do that again. That's not the thing I say in this situation.
YouTube only content.
YouTube only. The game was USA versus Haiti. 'Twas the first game of all in the group stage of the 2020 World Cup. It's underway. Let's do this thing. The whole
time?
World's been waiting.
That's right.
This moment.
Yeah.
You know, so many important things happened this week in soccer, and we're here to cover all of them. Things like Giassi Zardes playing left wing. Things like
Sam Vines
Hoppy
not playing left back.
Sam Vines and Shaq Moore not playing wing backs at all. That's unfair to Shaq Moore. We're going to talk about all this and much more.
Sam Vines took a nap in the middle of that game somewhere. I don't know where he was, but it wasn't on the field. It wasn't at Children's Mercy Park.
There was like all I can imagine is that there was some strange mirror happening in Sam Vines' mind where when Haiti attacked on a counterattack, Sam Vines was like, gotta go, and made some runs.
I'm out, guys.
We're about to score, right, guys? That's what happened. This was a pretty fun game in some respects, and we're going to talk about it as well as other things. But first, of course, as always, housekeeping. Guys, we love you. We really do. We love you so much for listening to this show, for being here with us week after week. And we cannot possibly express our gratitude enough. That's the most important thing. The second most important thing is if you enjoy this show, say something IRL to someone about it. Just let someone know that it exists. If every single one of you did that, we'd double, in downloads overnight, and then we would quickly decline again when the US does something disappointing. But that's neither here nor there.
It's out of our hands.
It's out of our hands. We can't control it. So please help us get this whole thing going. Remember as well that we're on Twitter. If you want to reach out to us, throughout your week, on your Monday, your work day, hit us up on Twitter at WTPPod.
Wilbur and Tango Pizza.
We are on the Patreon for 1 billion of Jurgen dollars, which actually is coming down. It's a 0.5 billion Jurgen dollars now.
Buy the dip.
Buy it now. You can become a ratified peep on Patreon forever and ever. That is, you can take pride in the fact that you help keep this show going. It is not free to do the show. So we're so grateful to all of you who have decided to give 5 of your actual dollars to us per month. Thank you guys so much. Lastly, we are on YouTube during each game, including this one, and we were not alone on there, my friends. We are currently on YouTube as we broadcast. And we're so grateful to those of you who've been joining us on there. You can find us at the same coordinates on YouTube as everything else. And, do it. It's kind of fun. And you don't have to watch these games alone. I'm sure that some of you listening to this episode now watched the US play Haiti in the Gold Cup after the Euros. The main thing on your Sunday was this Gold Cup game for some reason. And we want you to know that you are not alone. We are always with you, even in the strangest of Nat's moments.
There are dozens of us.
So there are dozens of us. Hit us up on YouTube, on your tube, and of housekeeping.
I make that sound to remind Clayton to put in the actual sound.
That's correct. This is YouTube only. I'm plugging in my other computer. Oh my God. This game, okay, I'm back. I might just leave all that in. This game was a mess for us and on the field and for in the lives of many involved.
We're
in
working our way
game.
into the tournament.
We are working our way in, but we're here. The only way to start it off is with a game recap. Guys, we won our first game. We came in here 1-0, and we won this game. The starting lineup, line them up, boys. Let's get some gloves going for your boy, MLB's finest, Matt Turner. Get on in. In the back, we're going to have Sam Vines, Anthony Waitno, Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmermans, and Shaq Moore. Welcome back into the fold, Shaq Moore, you crazy kid. Shaq Moore is back with us. We're going to have a midfield trio of, you guessed it, yes, the Leggett is yet to come. It's Jackson Ewell, Kellen Acosta, and Captain Sebastian Leggett. Why not? We believe in that. We think that's going to work out pretty good. Up front, we're going to have the 9 the U.S. was always waiting for. Giassi Zardes on the left, Jonathan Lewis on the right.
Record-breaking Giassi Zardes.
Record-breaking Giassi Zardes. Folks, this game would start off with a flurry from the Nats. The Nats would come on in strong. 5 minutes in, Walker Zimmerman would hit the bar off of a free kick of some kind, and then a few minutes later, we get a goal from Sam Vines. This came from a Kellen Acosta sort of sprint. He made a little run, the type of run he can only make against weak opposition. Let's go. He did that, dished it out to Shaq Moore on the right side, who gave a nice curler to Giassi Zardes, right on his head, just right on the dime. Just make some good contact, Giassi, and Giassi bobbles it. A classic bobble. This is not, as advertised, a beautiful decision from Giassi Zardes.
No look rainbow assist.
No, dog.
Occam's razor flies.
This was Giassi Zardes attempting to score and not doing that.
It's just Giassi Zardes attempting to control a pass to him.
And instead, it bobbles out to the lone wolf, Sam Vines, who heads this one home. Thank God. Because that would turn out to be the go-ahead goal. There was a lot.
That was it, baby.
That was it, son. It looked like it would be maybe, a potentially insensitive drubbing, considering that, Haiti is this Haitian national team is dealing with some crisis at home politically, which I don't know much about, but it's happening. This felt early on like, oh, this might really be US's night, and I can't say that it was. It's not that it fully wasn't, it just wasn't the US's night. There were some funny things that happened, I suppose. We got to see some other subs. What the fuck else happened in this game, Ty?
I am having trouble making a clear assessment, and it's because of all the different factors that play into how you look at this match. So on the face of it, just taking for granted the US roster and the personnel that were available, it's a reasonable performance, one of those get the job done performances where you don't play your best, but you still come away with the victory. And that's what teams often need in order to progress in tournaments and do well. I could not get it out of my head, the disappointment of not having a bigger, a stronger choice US roster available.
Yeah.
I realized that in the process of this, that I went from thinking we would have a sweet first choice Olympic roster and a backup Gold Cup roster to being okay with us maybe bringing a weak team to the Olympics and bringing the heat for the Gold Cup, to having no Olympics. But I was like, all right, well, at least we get to go all in on the Gold Cup. and then slowly realizing that, oh no, we're not going all in on the Gold Cup at all. So the thing that I took solace in was the Gianluca Busio and George Bello, potential of this squad, that maybe we would see a rising star, the Daryl Dike potential. We might see somebody elevate to that same tier as the rest of our stellar young guys and prove that they belong in the group for World Cup qualifying. And so the lineup just crushed my spirit. We did see over the course of the game, we saw some of those guys get some time, and we did learn a decent amount about Busio in particular, and it was fantastic to see him come in at home and play in front of a raucous home field atmosphere. Our listener Cameron was at the game and reported that it sounded great on TV, and reports that even though it was numerically not the packed house that it could be in an ideal scenario, it was a raucous pro US atmosphere, which is all you can ask for. So I think coming away from this, there's a lot of positives I draw. It's hard for me to shake that disappointment at not having a stronger Gold Cup team, but I think by match 2, match 3, as I get into the tournament, I'm going to kind of forget about that and just be focused on seeing this team do as well as it possibly can. And this was a step in the progression for this group to make an impression at this tournament, even if it's not what I was hoping for originally.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think that, so I want to talk about Busio, and I want to talk about DK and Shaq Moore and this game and all that. But, this is one of those very, very rare moments in my Nats experience where the stuff going on this weekend, other than the Nats, really needs to be addressed in order to talk about our
to contextualize. Yeah. So
of this game.
Yeah. Where's the program at?
So I am sure that if you're listening to this, you were to some degree aware that last night Lionel Messi lifted the Copa America, his first ever major trophy. Okay. Even if that didn't happen, you probably cared about this game, but that did happen. That is an enormous deal if you're a soccer fan. Whether it is enormous because you're going to have to deal with it for the rest of your life, because you believe that either Cristiano Ronaldo or Maradona is the best player of all time, or it's enormous because you think, like me, that Messi is that guy. And, he finally broke through. So it's a big deal if you like soccer that happened. And then earlier today, England lost to Italy in penalty kicks. So somehow England, in their glory, whilst covering themselves with glory, as English people say, which I am just amazed by, whilst covering themselves in glory by getting to the final of a major tournament, they also managed to England themselves out of this tournament.
Totally.
And further the penalty jinx feeling by having a bunch of very young, untested players thrust into a penalty kick at the end and miss. Okay. So you were probably aware of some of these things. After watching both of those games, and after what has been a marathon of soccer between these two tournaments for a lot of people, and I'm sorry if this is not you, if you genuinely just only tuned into the Haiti game, you are the shit. You are the peeps.
You're next level.
You're next level, dog. You are next level. But I think that this is probably a relatable experience. Tuning into this Gold Cup, if you did at all, was strange, man. The third thing that's really important to contextualize this game, that is bigger than this game, is the experience of what what Haiti is going through. And Ty, I know you're not an expert, and I'm sorry to make you say this again, as you did on the YouTube stream live. But But what exactly is happened over, not exactly, but what generally happened in Haiti that is affecting, that we can only imagine is affecting the play on the field?
Yeah, so the rough recap is that the government there has been very weak and very mistrusted for a long time, and there's a degree of day-to-day mismanagement that's been exacerbated by the COVID pandemic. And so you have a situation where there's lots of people who are suffering and a small handful of people who are doing just fine and, kind of living it up. And so there has been a lot of popular discontent, and somehow this led, no one knows yet exactly how, but led to the president being assassinated by a cadre of Colombian gunmen who allegedly, I should say, who then fled to the Taiwanese embassy for some reason. So it's this bizarre kind of international intrigue situation. But the long and short of it is, for the Haitian people, for everyday people in Haiti, this is a rough time. There's not really a functional central government in Haiti. And there's kind of a vacuum, and vacuums tend to create really bad conditions for everyday people. So it's a tough time. And I would imagine that this is something, not only just on the minds of the players as an abstract kind of political thing, but likely as a very practical thing that, they're here in the US. I'm guessing a fair amount of the players play locally, or at least, regularly travel back and forth. And so their families are going through this really shitty, difficult situation where there's a lot of uncertainty and, maybe fear and difficulty. So it's hard for that not to affect you, and it makes sense. And the team also lost a bunch of players immediately prior due to positive COVID tests. So it was, on balance, you'd have to say a really respectable performance by the Haitian team. They showed a lot of grit, determination, and very easily could have come away with an equalizer in the closing minute there with that wild scramble in front of Matthew Turner. So
that's right.
The US hardly impressed today. It was just enough to get by with a win. It sets us up well to hopefully qualify fairly straightforwardly and then be able to play with the lineup a little bit. But the next match is our toughest. It's going to be against Canada, toughest of the group. So I'm guessing Greg will go all out to win that, secure qualification for the next round, and then be able to kind of play with the lineup in the last game.
All right. So all that being said, here we are, Gold Cup. It's all we care about. This is life. Nats is life. But my experience of this game was a strange one for all those reasons. It does seem like there's just so much going on. So help me focus in here, right?
There's right.
There's a few players, right, that there are some highlights here to walk away from. Let's start with Shaq Moore. We haven't seen this guy in a long, long time. And he by the end of this game, I think, convinced both of us that he's grown into his own a little bit. He was able to play defense and offense, right?
Somehow he appeared on both sides of the field
to do that. Sam Vines.
Sam Vines was only on the opposite side of the field that was appropriate.
What do you see from Shaq Moore? What do you think?
Yeah, Shaq Moore really impressed me. He's clearly grown up a lot in the last 18 months or 12 months since we've been able to see him for the US, probably 18. And his trajectory has been really fascinating. So he was a really high level prospect for the US coming up. He was an important player in the U20 teams and so on. And he went over to Europe relatively early. He was in, pretty good situations, but then he he ended up like on loan a lot, and he was playing for like a new team every week. And the teams he was playing for were like folding and not paying wages and all that kind of stuff. And he's kind of settled into the second tier in Spain with Tenerife. and has been doing really well. So he had a brief stretch where he was playing in La Liga. He played against Messi at the new camp a couple of years ago.
Speaking of,
and it seems like, maybe he's kind of on a trajectory to be able to make it back to that level if he's able to carve out create a reputation for himself in Spain. And you can see that kind of like self-made attitude coming out in the way that he played today. And it's clear that he's learned a lot. He's learned a lot of toughness and a lot of grit from those experiences. There was a particular play where he rode a couple challenges in order to get a ball off. And that was just like the kind of thing you're not totally used to seeing from a homegrown, US based right back. So it was good to see. It felt like he's someone who we could count on in pressure moments when there's chippiness. Maybe one for the away team that we've been discussing. The US roster we want for games on the road in CONCACAF.
I think you're onto something there. He does look like a good, solid away pick. And if we just take this 90 minutes, the whole point of this Gold Cup is like, is there any of it? Oh God, YouTube content, YouTube only.
YouTube also just reminded me that I got the order of the games wrong, so it's Martinique next.
I thought so.
All
okay.
Right, yeah.
All right.
Great. So
here's what's
beat
about
Martinique, and
on,
then it's an easier game in the last one.
Yeah. So thank you, YouTube, for what's about to happen. Okay. So the whole goal is to walk away from this tournament with someone who we can bring into the fold, right? And I think Shaq Moore showed us that a little bit. Side note, thanks to YouTube, we've been notified that in fact the game schedule is a little different than what Ty mentioned. We're not playing Canada next. It's going to be Martinique, so that's the easy one. And my whole kind of just to wrap. So my whole kind of thing with this game was we need to win this game with Jackson Ewell so that we can see some boozy baby for that second game against Martinique. That's what this game is all about for me. And then I got to see it anyways, which was pretty nice. And
this is all a mini game to try to get the most Busio minutes possible.
Yeah. But we got a bunch in this game, and contrary to the Shaq Moore experience, which was, I have to say, almost entirely positive. Really solid showing from Shaq Moore, and looks like potentially, if this 90 minutes were the whole Gold Cup, someone we should take along, someone we should consider and think about in the future. Busio, I'm not sold yet from the minutes I've seen in the jersey. So, I'm high on Boozy. The offensively, he showed it. There's definitely, he has a thing going on, but he was a little easy to dribble past, and I'm concerned about that. Right, if you're easy to dribble past in a game like this, it's just not a good look. It's not going to go well. Ty, what did you think of Buzio's performance? Where are you at?
Yeah,
has your
I agree.
I think changed, developed, evolved.
I don't think so. I think I'm very high on him, and I think that he can and should be an important part of the team over the next cycle, 2 cycles. So I wouldn't expect a player in their very first cap to show exactly what they're all about. I think that's very rare, and particularly when it comes to positioning, I feel like a lot of players on a debut or even just early on in their career, they're very tentative in their positioning because they're focused on not making a high profile mistake, as opposed to sort of stamping their authority on the game. So I think you saw that a couple times from Busio, where I think maybe his willingness to chop it up and get involved in plays wasn't necessarily there. But he had a couple good moments, and I think he showed some of the reasons why he's a very special talent, someone that US fans are very, very, very interested in. And he is clearly no more an issue or liability when it comes to aggressive defense than Jackson Ewell.
That's the thing.
Right? Is basically a wet paper bag on a good day. And I don't know why this guy, the only reason that he seems to play the 6 is because his long passing is high quality, which is undoubtedly true, but he adds so little on defense. It's stunning.
It's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah, so there was a tactical shift there. So when Ewell was dropping back into the center back position a lot, which allowed theoretically,
which I like. That's what I want.
Sam
That's what I'm looking
Vines
for.
and
Yes.
Shaq Moore to push up. Sam Vines, have we explicitly said it? He was attacking too much. He wasn't defending enough. But so when Busio came in, it switched to a different type of a midfield three. It wasn't like a 6 with 2 8s. So it was Jackson Ewell between the center back and the 6, and it switched to a 2-in-1 situation, a rotating 2-in-1 situation. So when Sebastian Lletget, for example, correctly identified that he was the farthest back on a counterattack, he held back and he checked to the ball. Luca Busio in that situation is expected to identify that he is one of the two most far forward center midfielders and move forward with Kellen Acosta. He did not. He failed to do that, unfortunately. Did I lose Ty?
Pardon me, technical difficulties.
Okay. Let me know if I should proceed.
Please proceed. Catch me up. Sorry, what did I miss?
So I was talking about the switch. So when Luca Busio came in, it switched to a different to a rotating midfield three instead of what it was.
Right.
So and the problem here was that Luca Busio is, I assume, used to really just playing the 6 recently. So you saw Sebastian Lletget check back, correctly identify that he should slot into the 6, but Busio did not. Right. So then you saw Busio and Lletget 5 feet away from each other on a counterattack, both playing from the 6th position, which is
sure. Well, yeah, or
so
maybe
those
there
are
was a
those
little
are
bit of
youth
confusion
things
about that in the system. Like,
I mean,
you
it
think
looked
that should have been, like, he should have been aware of that and he just missed it, or was
absolutely. I think I'm guessing, right? Look, this is a fan podcast, okay? So I don't know, but yeah, I think that was explicit because Busio is not. Because the reason I think that is because it looked like that, because Kellen Acosta and Sebastian Lletget started playing like that. The other reason I think that is because it would make sense. Busio is not as seasoned, and I wouldn't trust him as much in the center back position just in case something went wrong, right? So you can't necessarily have him do that thing that Ewell was doing. Don't know that I trust Ewell either. I'm just doing Greggy brain right now. So that's what I think happened. Switch to this rotating thing that he wasn't ready for, and that is a classic young player thing. It's also a classic new player thing. Even if you're a 27-year-old in your prime, you come in and you're asked to do a thing that's different than what you've done for your club, and you haven't played with the national team very much. It's going to be tough. It takes a while.
Right. Yeah, the thing that kept weirding me out about this game, this whole situation, was how this did not feel at all like the first game of a tournament. Because what we're used to seeing in the first game of a tournament is the teams go all out to get a good start, because if you lose that first game, you're behind the gun from the very beginning. And so you have this like super high pressure, high intensity, high pace to these games. They're nervy, intense, and exciting. And this still felt like a friendly pace to me with the new squad and with circumstances on the Haitian side. What did you think of that? Did this feel properly tournamenty to you?
No, it felt totally weird and friendly-ish, like you said, and that is why I opened the show with the context, because I think it probably had to feel that way to all of us, and it just you got to acknowledge that it's in the air. This just isn't the most important thing happening right now.
Yeah. I guess that's okay. Where you're going with that. Yeah.
That's okay. This is life. You got to fit the game into life.
For some of the Haitian players, it's game of your life territory, right? But I guess just with the circumstances on their side, maybe that influences things. So I just think there's just too much weird shit going on.
There's too much weird shit
to kind of like assess this in a very simple manner. To look at what happened on the field and kind of break it down. So I think that's probably, it's going to end up being understated, because I feel like the typical soccer coverage press is just like very down the middle about analyzing how Jackson Ewell played in this game, as opposed to analyzing the fact that Jackson Ewell was playing in this game, and like why that's not a reasonable thing to happen.
Totally. Who was it? Was it Giassi Zardes? There was a Haitian chance, and I think Giassi Zardes was nearby, and Stu Holden said, Zardes does just enough here to put off the shot, right? That's a perfect example of what you're talking about. It's like he didn't defend well. Sam Vines was nowhere to be seen. That's what we should be talking about. That's the topic of conversation. Perhaps you could be talking about the fact that the Haitian player could have done better there. All context aside, this was a miss. But to say, oh, Zardes does just enough to put off the attacker, is such it just epitomizes this sort of like myopic, or this funneled sort of sports talk, like lens,
exactly. Yeah, it's almost like it's like insulting to be talked at in a manner that doesn't acknowledge that this is not the real national team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's like
everyone just agrees to go along with this fiction that, oh, well, this is what we have available, and this is the U.S. national team, and we're just going to cover it.
Was it Alexi Lawless who said it's offensive that this is a B, to say this is a B team? Come on now, and that's why we're doing this is a shameless plug, but it's also relevant. That is why we're on YouTube talking through the games, because we're sick of this bullshit. Like, we want to watch the games and kind of hear commentary that actually is addressing what the fuck is going on. Like, let's talk about the context. Let's talk about the fact that this is a strange national team. Let's talk about the fact that Jonathan Lewis is not a young player anymore. Let's talk about the fact that Zardes shouldn't be playing left wing. Like, what the fuck is going on? And it doesn't take much. I mean, the way I'm doing it right now is super aggressive, but it's not too aggressive to speak more truthfully and just to try to connect to the fans. And this isn't just on principle. This is because we are trying to build something here, and you need to you need to find people where they're actually at. Maybe a good example of that is a British commentator, saying this is a really anxious situation right now for British fans, right? And talking about, like, the closer this gets to penalties, the more anxious these British fans. And then when the British fans in this final were freaking out and totally partying, saying, expressing some surprise. Oh, I don't see anxiety here. There's a party happening. And then even after the Euro final, acknowledging that, there was some disturbance and fans forcing their way into the stadium and saying that's not okay. And these are all what fans are actually experiencing. And I don't know what it feels like to be English, but from the outside perspective, I feel like the real conversation is happening a little more there. Whereas here, it's this weird, like, pageant. It's like a beauty pageant of some kind.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for us because our job isn't to promote this as a product. So I think maybe behind the scenes there is a little bit more tension about, from the broadcaster side, about the fact that the US just brought a really milquetoast group.
Right.
It's tough to gussy this up, honestly. So, we're just hoping that this turns into a circumstance where we, like, some of the sub goals of larger, national team trajectory get accomplished. That we get a bunch of minutes, we uncover some gems,
Yeah.
But when a lineup like this rolls out, it's like, I don't know. I kind of wish there was a little bit more eye rolling. I wish there was more eye rolling.
But we got to let the lineup go, because there's stuff that there's, even just in today's game, like, talk to me about Daryl DK and, why he. So one of the things we talked a lot about on the YouTube feed that I'm curious to get your thoughts on now is, like, DK seems to possess all the tools needed to do the false nine situation, but seems to choose not to do it. It's a strange situation over there. What did you think of DK's performance?
Yeah, I think I saw some of the maybe frailties or issues that are the reasons he's not starting in these situations. And the same thing happened in the Nations League camp, where he was behind Sipachu and Sargent in the depth chart, and didn't actually appear during that camp until that last game, that friendly against Costa Rica. So I think there's there's more to it than just analyzing the players' YouTube highlights or FIFA stats. And I think there are things that the coaching staff are seeing in the way that he approaches playing within this system. But I guess one aspect that I'm not quite clear on right now is what Berhalter really wants his nines to be doing. And I feel like it's at times it's been a lot more straightforward, and at times it's been a lot more false nine-ish. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe there's room for both in different circumstances. But when DK was put in those positions where he had to actually combine with midfield or be in midfield for a certain period of time, he looked very uncomfortable, just like physically uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I feel like
upsetting.
he's comfortable, working on the shoulder of the last man and trying to have one touch or two touches to score, like in that Costa Rica game where it was like I forget the center back. One of the center backs basically hit the ball through the entire defense straight through to DK, one touch, bang, back in the net. That's what he's all about. But it's harder for him to maneuver in those kind of tight spaces.
Yeah, it was eye-opening for me because I watched him with the Barnes, Burnley. I watched him with the Barnes, and looks promising. He is actually very good at two-touch interplay, with a lot of physical contact in difficult situations. He is good at that. He's also good at ripping rocket shots from distance.
I mean, that's
and
the
from
elite
close.
skill. That's the elite skill that's
Man,
on display regularly.
The guy can rip a
It's a
rocket
howitzer.
shot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And he's good at scrapping around, and he's a competitor for sure.
Right.
This was the easiest possible situation to drop into midfield and combine.
This is the easiest conceivable test for that skill.
I've never, yes. So this is a situation I've never seen him in, and maybe it's because I'm not watching enough of the MLS, but I didn't realize how poorly it was going to go. I'm sad about it. Should I be?
Well, I'm going to give him more time, and it's another reason why I think starting him would have been a good idea, but whatever. So I don't think we can judge based on 2 trips into midfield or 3 trips into midfield. You want to give him a little bit more experience working within the system, and before you totally give up on that. But it's definitely a concern. And all I mean to say is it just illuminated for me the reasons why it's been harder to find minutes for him. He's fitting he's doing a very good job of fitting a narrow niche, and the game state and the opponent and all of that is going to dictate whether that niche is appropriate.
So we'll wait for the niche.
So currently we wait for the niche, but hopefully there's opportunities within this tournament and perhaps after, though time's kind of running out, to experiment, but I remain with very high hopes that I think he can develop into a top level striker. And if that's the thing that's separating him is just his ability to combine in midfield, I think that's a lot more enviable a situation than a player like Josh Sargent, who combines in midfield great, but can't hit the back of the net.
Can't score no fucking goals, dog.
I'd much rather have that situation.
Yeah. Giacchini looked like he was going to figure it out. Seemed like he would unlock.
Yeah, Giacchini looked fine. Yeah, I don't see a lot special there. But
there is another sort of non-soccer context that's extremely relevant, which is fans returning to the stadiums.
Completely.
So this is a really big deal, and it didn't, So we hear, the atmosphere was nice in the stadium. That's what's up. There was like 1 billion own goals at the beginning of the Euros because of the fans. We're not talking about.
I think that's accurate. Yeah.
And I think that on this air, it's a great time to talk about what that means for our fandom, right?
Totally.
We've been through the dark ages, man. Is there anything else you want to say about the actual gameplay of this game before I bring up this other interesting topic?
The last point I wanted to make is that Zimmerman was great, and
Zimmerman's good. He's a good player.
he increased my estimation, not in the areas I was expecting. I never thought of him as a long passer. Maybe I was just kind of missing that while I was, paying attention to other things. But it was on full display in this match. I mean, he was bypassing the entire Haitian team with some of the balls. He was playing straight to the front line. So very, very impressive. And he's got size, experience, and brashness, and never say die attitude. So I think he's a perfect member of the USMNT official away team.
Away team. Let's go, Zimmerman. Let's
get
go,
him in
Shaq
here.
Moore. Come on in. You're in.
San Pedro Sula is calling.
Oh, you know what? Rest in peace, Paulie Areola Nips. My guy.
Pour one out for Paulie Nips.
Pour one out for the guy.
Oh
dude,
my God.
It just doesn't get dropped out injured early on in this game if you didn't watch.
So to crowds.
So to the crowds, the reason I bring this up is in part because of what my post-COVID soccer experience has been, which is playing the game again. And I think this is something we don't get a ton of opportunity to talk about because the show's not really about our lives. But I think it's really important that we can play this game again. One of our long-standing missions for years prior to COVID was to get out and play some pickup. Ty, remind the people why that is. Why do we care about pickup?
So the roots of a strong national team program are a strong national culture around the game. Basically, culture creates a foundation for kids in particular to grow up around high quality soccer information.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that holds the US back is not soccer participation. Soccer is the most important youth sport in America.
Most participated in,
yeah. Most important is another matter, but most participated.
None of it's important.
By head count.
Yeah.
But it's a weekend activity, right? So you have a weekday practice for an hour, you have a weekend game. And that is not enough to make good soccer players. So what we need is that soccer is one of those default activities that, every family gathering and every time you go down to the park, there's just people kicking the ball around. And that's the case in a lot of places in the world. And those places tend to be better at soccer than us for that reason. So to me, pickup is one of the sort of fundamental indicators. It's both an indicator and a cause of our future success in the, elevated heights of the national team program. Because the more opportunities that you have for a 6-year-old Christian Pulisic to play soccer, the better.
Yeah. So that is true. It is about cultivating better players. It is also about the reason we love soccer in the first place. Pause. Ty, did I say the thing about nonviolent on
that was in
pod or in the YouTube?
The stream. Yeah.
Okay.
Let it fly.
Yeah, unpause. It is also about why we love the game in the first place, which is relevant for today's game versus Haiti, right? There's this really difficult thing happening for real human beings in this country. And one of the common responses you're going to get out there if you're a fan of US soccer and trying to make it grow is, why are you rooting against Haiti right now? Like, what the fuck, dog? Which is true. God, I mean, fair. But there is a real answer to that concern, which is that for me, and I hope you guys agree, but let us know. For me, this is a non-violent way to participate in my country that I love. So rather than, let's say, literally colonialize the world, or create, these or
Hint.
thinks like that, we can play soccer and celebrate, winning in a way that doesn't actually cause um, these negative repercussions, right? So when we smash Haiti in the Gold Cup, it's not making their country worse, right? That this is a crucial difference, that we can smash Haiti in the Gold Cup and then increase the size of the Gold Cup to include more teams like Haiti, and everyone, as the US gets better, everyone in CONCACAF is getting better, and we're all experiencing each other and coming to have cultural context with countries that I don't know anything about. I literally would not know that this was happening in Haiti if it was not for soccer, So I am a better person because of this game, because I understand just the tiniest bit about the world through this game that I love. And because I'm able to celebrate, my neighbors, my country, my city, my state,
Right.
via this team in a way that is ultimately nonviolent.
Right.
Um,
100%. Yeah.
so the reason I bring that up in terms of post-COVID is that we can now play again, right? So and this isn't just true for our national teams. It's true for our neighborhoods. I've been experimenting with trying to create a neighborhood soccer team and coach it to the best of my abilities. Which I'm unqualified to do, but my friends are kind enough to
So is Greg. You're
let me
good.
try it out. So is Greg. I also play my brother on the team, which is very Greggy. But what I've learned is just what an incredible way to get to know my neighborhood this is. I don't want to bring too much into this, but as someone who's experienced being on the wrong end of gentrification a few times, as well, I've been on both ends of gentrification, and they're both the wrong end. Being able to go to a neighborhood that I'm actually not from, but care about, and am genuine about wanting to participate in and share community through soccer has been it's been heart opening. I want to say eye opening, but it's heart opening to see the walls that this game is able to bring down between communities. And then in addition to that, to see the way that people are, when given a few tools, a few techniques, a little bit of belief and a nice halftime speech, the way that people can rise above what they think they can do in this game is also just so uh, affirming and so human and beautiful. So this is my long ass treatise, my long ass treatise about why it's just a reminder that guys, if you're vaccinated and if your local law whatever is like cool with it, you can go out and play this game again. So remember why we love this. Why do we care about the US playing Haiti in the Gold Cup this weekend with all this other more important shit going on? It's because of what this game can do IRL, and I'm not, and we're not out here just saying, play pickup because we want the team to be better. We're doing it. We're doing it. Ty has driven, an hour out to Brooklyn to play with the Crown Heights Finger Traps, and that's the name of our team, indeed, Crown Heights Finger Traps, and that's a really beautiful thing. Make an effort, go out there and see if this game can open up your life a little bit.
And go see the Nats. I mean, I'm itching to get out there again. It's difficult logistically right now because the venues are very far from me in this particular iteration of the Gold Cup. But we've had several listeners reach out to us and mention that they've been to some of these games on the road back from COVID. Early pandemic or mid-pandemic, I was famously very against there being crowds, but now that the vaccination rollout has been so strong, I think it's the perfect activity to kind of get back to community, and it underscores how much these teams can matter to our cities. Seeing like Austin, for instance, come into MLS and try to make an impact and try to resonate in that community there where they have every shot. Austin is primed to be a great soccer town. These things matter, and the phenomenon of sports can last in a crowdless vacuum, but only on the steam of prior accomplishments or achievements or reputation. And what's beautiful about the crowd being there is that it allows it to continue to evolve and continue to grow in a new way. So what we were able to see on TV mid-COVID was essentially like a frozen in time version of whatever soccer culture we happen to have, and like watered down in a lot of ways. And so it's beautiful to me to see the English fans, to see a couple pockets of Brazil fans, or even the couple, maybe 1,000 Argentina fans that got to be there to watch Messi win the Copa America, and to see Donald Wine leading chants for the Nats.
Donald Wine,
it's a big deal.
To the base. Gone.
We have in Kansas City in particular, we have this burgeoning US soccer fan culture that is legitimate and beautiful and representative of our country, and that we roll hard and we roll deep. And when we make it to the World Cup, we sell more tickets than anybody else. So, as I always say, America is not a soccer nation, but there is a soccer nation within America. And it's beautiful to see that finally released and freed to continue its inexorable expansion and growth to take over the world.
The unstoppable tide, the inevitable tide, which is a reference, if you don't know, to a phrase often said about Islam, the inevitable tide. I love it. It's beautiful. If you believe that what you're saying is the truth, you have to believe that it will inevitably spread. Right? Is that true? Let's ask some Derrida if he thinks so. Well, Ty, right. I think that we've proven why people should care about the next game. Tune in. It's Martinique. See if Buzio can do it. See if DK gets another try. See if Greggy just GGGs all over us again. GGG. See all those things. Any last thoughts for the peeps, Ty, before we depart? It's late.
No.
It's Sunday. It's late. There's late. A week about to happen.
No, I'm glad. I enjoyed the Euro final, but I can never enjoy the final of the Euros, final of the Copa America, the Champions League, as much as I enjoy watching the national team.
It's a fact.
I can identify the level of quality being dramatically different.
I get it.
But
we get it.
For me, I cannot enjoy watching any team as much as I enjoy watching my Nats, because it represents all of those things that I believe in deeply, and that I'm willing to, they represent ideals that I myself am willing to sacrifice for, and that matter to me. So let's go Yanks.
Let's go Yanks.
It's a tournament. It's a tournament.
Dude,
let's just like remember that it's a tournament.
You thought we couldn't get hype for this? I'm sorry. Did you think we couldn't get hype for this?
Fuck Martinique.
Fuck Martinique. Martinique's about to get shattered. No injuries, please. Rest in peace, Paulie Areola Nips. We love you, my guy. We love you for life. All right, dude. Jesus. This was a long family weekend too. That's a side note. So that's where this comes from. I like uncles. I like cousins. I like grandmoms, grandpops, and grandpops' old friends. And I like chicken parm. But I tell you what, I don't love any of that shit as much as I love the Nats. Let's go, boys.
Goodbye, people. Cut. YouTube only content. All right. Good night, YouTube. Let's see if we got any questions. We got a comment about Southgate's subs.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. What was the comment?
Basically, if they knew the PK takers, why didn't the senior players say something about the 5 players who were picked? And if they didn't know the PK takers, then what were they doing? I agree. That seemed a lot much too improvised for me.
Say it again. I realized I made a recording error. I had you playing out the speakers the whole time, so this audio might suck later, but it won't be that.
Oh, that's okay.
It should be fine. What'd you say again?
Yeah. Basically, did Southgate plan for those 5 players specifically to be taking PKs? And if he did, why did no one tell him that it was a bad idea? And if not, then why didn't he have a better plan?
Okay, understood. I think he did plan for those 5 players. I think they planned copiously. I think they brought Jadon Sancho to do penalties. I think that's like, yeah.
It makes sense. Like, based on how they played it, it makes sense. But it was basically his only touch. It probably was his only touch. Yeah.
It's just the jinx. It's
insane.
The jinx, dude. It was the jinx because they overthought the penalties. It was the jinx.
Well,
because of all these fucked up penalty situations that they've been in, all these times, they came up with this crazy weird ass plan for penalties that
right. Yeah, they
fucked them up in the end.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah,
it's the jinx,
right.
Dude. It was a crazy weird ass plan. It doesn't make sense to anyone because it doesn't make sense. It was a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a bad plan. Yeah.
Just check heart rates. Just go in there. Who's the 11 on the field? Do nothing plan nothing about the penalties. Who's the 11 on the field? Right? At the end of the game, okay, check heart rates. Who can take, give everyone 15 seconds to lower their heart rate as quickly as possible. Deep breaths.
Right.
Check those heart rates, and whoever's got them down the lowest, you're taking the first 5. Go.
Right. Like, what you want to do is in the 110th minute, you have no thought to penalties. You just focus on scoring a goal.
Winning the fucking game.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But once they started to think, this looks like penalties, they started to change how they approach things. Because there's no reason why you would sub in Sancho and what's his face on for 1 minute at the end. That was the only reason.
No, dude. It happens all the time. Marcus Rashford right back in the last minute of a game. That's normal.
Weird.
So
very
bizarre. Weird. By the way, we're still on the internet, right?
We are still live on the internet.
I'm gonna say my other thing. This is another thing I need a timestamp is snaking penalty kicks. What are we doing?
Save this one. Yeah, we'll cover this.
This is an incredible idea.
It is a great idea. We need to have a segment. I want to have people who know what they're talking about, like soccer.
Oh, never mind then. You want to bring people who know what they're talking about on the show? I might be busy. What day? What day did you say that is? I might be busy.
I want to bring in someone like that, just like someone, and I want to run by them all of our insane ideas. The super starter.
Oh, super starter,
etc.
is a classic, dog. That's a fucking classic. Okay. Any other comments?
All right. Nothing else to answer. Just doo-doo performance by almost all players.
Yeah, totally. Except us and you, peeps.
Except us and you.
And Donald Wine.
Donald Wine. He always brings the heat.
For life.